Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business to business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. All right, let's get a few seconds in here. Okay, and I'll do the intro. In 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. As always, I am still Seth. I will always be Seth from now and for eternity. So I am honored to have Tony Yang on the program today. Tony has done quite a bit in his life, and he's still going, which is awesome. He is the growth advisor. Currently, he's the growth advisor over at Mucker Capital. He is the co-founder and CEO of RevOptica, which we'll get into. And then he consults as well. Now, in the past, he's done, I'm just going to cheat here because he has got a nice little list that he gave me. He's done a lot. He says in the past 16 years, I'm sure it's longer than 16 now, but he's an ABMer, account-based marketing. He's been the VP of demand generation. He's worked for natural language processing, writing assistant, which is now writer. You've been a CMO, you've done this, you've done that, you've done quite a bit of stuff. And I'm gonna let you talk about a little bit more about that as we get into your journey. But so how did this all get started? Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or is it sort of like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur all of a sudden?
That's an interesting question. Well, first of all, thanks, Seth, for having me on the
It's a
show.
pleasure.
It's great to be on here. So, I want to say that it's in my blood. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, although early on in my career, that wasn't my focus or my intention. Early on in my career, I just wanted to get a job. I focused on marketing since that was something I sort of fell into with my first marketing job when I was working for IBM.
Why does everyone work for IBM? It's just like
I don't
everyone
know.
works for IBM.
It's a big
hilarious.
company, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that was my first foray into marketing, and obviously, IBM is not a startup company by any
Oh,
means.
God, no.
And after I spent a couple of years there, I came back here to the States. I went and got my MBA, and during my MBA program, I took classes in the entrepreneurship center. And eventually started getting some more interest in startups and the VC world. And after I finished that program, I moved up to Silicon Valley and I started to work for a number of different B2B software as a service startups. And so I think that's when I first started getting a little bit more exposure and over time interest in startups. Very different world than large corporations like an IBM, like Yahoo, where I spent a little bit of time at.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of consulting for Microsoft during
Another place that everyone
years.
has had their hand in on the West
Yeah,
Coast.
right.
They've done something for Microsoft at some point.
Yeah, exactly. But I just guess startups just really drew my attention or my interest, mostly because things moved fast and a lot of the activities or work that I do from a tactical level as well as strategic level, you could see it. You could see the effects of it
Mhm.
as opposed to being one small, very small cog in a giant machine or a
Yeah.
giant wheel that is a large corporation. Not to say that there's anything wrong with working in large
Yeah.
companies, but for me personally, I just felt more drawn and more interest in startups as a whole.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right, it's faster, it's more nimble, they're scrappy. I feel like a
Mhm.
lot of times it's also there's more risk involved so that you feel like there's a fire under your backside to kind of do your best work versus like this job's gonna be here kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true, especially when I was elbows deep into startups as an operator, as a marketer. Things move very fast. Time moves very fast.
Uh-huh.
Every quarter, every month, or even every week, uh, there's something that needs to be accomplished, right? And compare that to working for a larger company, they're further along. And so they're thinking about longer term in terms of years, perhaps even decades, right? For startups, you don't have that luxury. You got to think, okay, how am I going to grow the business so that we don't shut down by next quarter? Uh, and I've been in situations like that. And yes, it is risky to your earlier comment, but part of that is, part of that is the fun part of
Yeah.
working for startups. Yeah.
So you've worked for startups, you've had your own startups. Like RevOptica, what is RevOptica?
Yeah. So RevOptica started off mostly from pain points, challenges, and frustrations that I've experienced as a B2B marketer for the
Some of
past,
the best things happen
16
that way.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And, as a high level, it's a B2B buyer journey visualization and analytics platform. We're
Ooh.
very early on, which means, working on the initial product prototype or
Mhm.
using startup terms, MVP, minimal viable product. So we're developing that right now.
Oh,
But
so you're in the
essentially,
weeds right now. You're in the thicket.
I am in the weeds. Earlier, you mentioned when you gave the nice intro for myself, my full-time job, the job that pays the bills, if you will, is that of a growth advisor for
Yeah.
Mucker Capital, early stage VC firm. I'm a full-time employee there, great people, fantastic
It's
track
helpful.
record
It's
of.
helpful to have a steady job while you work on your side hustle.
Yeah, exactly. It's side hustle. We'll
I
see
think when
where it
you're the
goes.
CEO of a startup, it's a dual hustle almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great term. I actually never heard that
You can
before.
use that. I will let you take that
I'm
and
going
you
to
can use
borrow
dual
that.
hustle. Yeah. I literally just came
Dual
up with it
hustle.
that second. So
Yeah. But yeah, RevOptica is something that's been on my mind for the past 8 years or so, mostly
Mhm.
because I've had challenges that I've experienced as a B2B marketer for these startups.
Yeah.
And there are difficulties and challenges that I couldn't find a good solution to. I mean, there are solutions out in the market that kind of addressed the pain points that I had, but didn't really do it well or to the degree that I felt like I need to have my pain point addressed. And so, like how a lot of startups come to be is someone realizes there's a problem, especially if it's a problem that they themselves are experiencing. And
Abs
I
Yeah.
figured, look, there's no product that does exactly what I want to do to solve for my needs. Let's see how I could go and build it. So
Yeah.
again, we're at the
That's
very
great.
beginning stages. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that the world's leading B2B marketing expo is returning to the Los Angeles Convention Center on March 21st and 22nd. It's high time we got back together to learn, see the latest technologies and solutions, and network, right? Join thousands of marketing professionals just like you to learn from over 250 industry expert speakers, educational masterclasses, and over 300 exhibitors. And this year, your ticket also gets you into the Sales Innovation Expo and the Marketing and Advertising Expo. So it's like 3 conferences in one. It's March 21st and 22nd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Go to b2bmarketingexpo.us to register. That's b2bmarketingexpo.us. The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of the B2B Marketing Expo for 2023. We'll see you in LA.
But that's fun though. It's kind of like when it's not like you're joining a company that has like I'm doing some stuff with Founders Institute right now. And I'm working with the founders right now and saying, is this done already? Can you do it better? Is it
Yeah.
worth you doing it better, or is it worth you saying, "Hey, can I have a job at your company?" kind of thing? It's
Right.
when you find something that has never been, or you've tried your darndest to find it, because it's easier to just buy the product than
Yep.
build it yourself. I mean, like, I'm sure you would say, like, if you could find RevOptica done, you just buy it and go about your merry way.
Yep.
But it's not done, so guess what? You gotta build it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are products in the market that does portions of what I would envision RevOptica would be once we launch a fully fledged product and build along the way. What I found in the market either is too complicated, too complex, mostly because they're trying to sell to enterprises, complex
Mhm.
organizations that have very complex needs, and
Yes.
therefore might require customization or bespoke type of solutions. And for me, most of my career has been in smaller companies,
Yeah.
smaller startups where we didn't have a $1 million, multi-million dollar budget for technology or solutions for me to do my job.
Yeah.
And the ones that were within my price range as a startup marketer, they weren't that great. And so, yeah, I think that's obviously opportunities to spot gaps in the market that we can
Yes.
focus on and track. And that's a lot of times what I also advise startups on, in my day job, if you will, and as a
Yeah.
consultant or advisor. How do you find areas of opportunities where, yeah, you might think there is a 800-pound gorilla in Google or Amazon or whatever company. Well, they can't solve every need in every market niche. There are ways to win.
Just
So
kind of
that's
have the inside
e-
track to learn as you go and as you
exactly,
advise. It's a good gig.
exactly. Yeah, thank you. I'm
So what's
enjoying it so far.
exactly. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Well, I think something that I've learned within startup, which kind of goes against my nature, and you and I were kind of talking about this before we started the
Yeah.
show, which is y- things don't have to be perfect all the
Yeah.
time. And
It's
for
so hard.
me,
Yeah.
it is. It's very hard. My very nature is do things well, do it as close to
Mhm.
100%. In startups, especially at the very early stage, you just don't have that luxury
Just
of
get
being able to
something
get
out
it.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
so for me personally, that's one of the challenges where, I got to change my way of thinking and say, okay, in order just to get
Mhm.
something out there or get things done fast, I have to do it in a crafty manner. I think that a lot of times what I found when I used to be in house and work for CEOs or, early in my career, CMOs that say, hey, Tony, just crank out a bunch of blog posts or create this email sequence or, um, set up our, ads on Facebook or
Yeah.
Google. And they just want things fast without the need for some sort of quality or to
Mhm.
do it well. I think a lot of companies tend to, especially early stage, they're trained with the mantra of, just get it done,
Yeah, and they
80%
rush.
there.
Yeah.
They rush, but it's not even 80% there a lot of times.
You
And,
can't get to
and
80 if you rush. You just
yeah,
can't. You can do
yeah,
stuff good, and well and all that stuff, but you gotta slow down a little bit and focus on it. It doesn't have to be 100% with all the, like, my newsletter I
exactly.
put out, there's grammatical errors all the time, I'm sure,
Yeah,
but I feel like it's good to get it out, but I'm not rushing to get it out. Like, you set a
yeah,
cadence kinda thing.
yeah. So I think that's a challenge, right? Like, where is that fine line between
Mhm.
speed and quality, where you don't want to sacrifice quality at the
Yeah.
sake of speed when you're putting out a bunch of crappy work, but at the same time, you can't wait until everything is done perfectly in
You
order
go out of
to
business.
launch or yeah, exactly, exactly. So for me, that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I'm still learning how to do better as an
Yeah.
for sure.
That's great. So what is the scariest and the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Yeah, there's really 2 questions, but I'm gonna merge them into one because
Yeah.
they tend to go off each other.
Well, I think sometimes I just feel like I struggle with imposter syndrome, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get it all the
Is
time. Yeah.
I mean, I've you mentioned earlier I have 16 years in B2B experience. 14 of those years or so I've been in startups. And so
Yeah.
I feel comfortable working in a startup, but most of that time has been working for someone else where
Yeah.
someone else's company and starting my own company. And by the way, spend a period of that time doing my own consulting. It
Yeah.
is an entrepreneur's type of gig. And even so, even during that time, even though my product was consulting, my services, my hours, it's very similar to building a product based type of
Absolutely. Yeah,
startup
I
where,
live it every day. Yeah.
right. And the challenge and going back to this imposter syndrome is, am I good enough? Do I know what I'm doing? Because
Hmm.
I've never been a founder of a tech startup before. I've never been a CEO before. I worked for CEOs
Hmm.
and partnered with them very closely, but
But now it's
do
your
I
turn.
know?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so sometimes I get this imposter syndrome type of feeling like the best way that I've found how to overcome it or, to address that is just simply talk to other startup founders and
Everyone has it, even the big wigs.
ev-
I'm sure Steve Benioff or
yeah,
Bezos
anyway,
or they all
yeah,
have it. I mean, am I as good as Bill Gates? No, you're not. But like, you don't have to
yeah,
be as good as Bill Gates. You're the head of Salesforce for crying out loud.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
like that kind of stuff. Like, you- and a lot of these guys, these people that have been, like what's her name, the CEO of Spanx.
Hmm.
She started out of her spare bedroom. Like,
Yeah,
you think about that, like, Bill Gates started out of his garage. Steve Jobs started out of his garage or
yeah,
some version of their house.
yeah.
You all and the thing I have to remember, even Warren Buffett puts his pants on the same way that we do.
Yes,
And he's a good example because
you're
he's
right.
like the most humble freaking gazillionaire you ever
Yeah.
meet, but he's so humble. He still
Yeah.
I think he still lives in the house he's always lived in. Some weird
Oh,
thing like
really?
that. Like, it's like, you have all the money. He's like, I don't need a big house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he drives like a decent car. It's like, that's the reason why he has so much money, because he doesn't spend it.
Yeah. Anyway, so just talking to other co-founders, other entrepreneurs has
That's
helped me a
key.
lot.
It's
Yeah.
very key.
And also keeping an eye on the ball. Little things. There's a million things to do when you start your own company. Can't do them all. But for me, it helps to prioritize and understand. Okay, this is the near term milestone I need to hit, or I
Yeah.
need to work towards this, and just take one step at a time. And that helps me a lot because if I start feeling, do I know how to run a company or imposters, have that imposter syndrome type of feeling? Well, if I just kind of break it down into chunks, right?
Yeah.
And I know, okay, by the end of this month or by the end of this quarter,
Yeah.
let's try to do this with my co-founder. Let's complete this, or what's in my core. A lot of times, what I've been focusing on is around customer discovery, just talking to people in the market, understand what is the need, is there a
Mhm.
pain point, how big of a pain point is there, how do you currently address it,
Yeah.
and so spending time to do that keeps my mind on the near term goals and taking one step at a time. And that helps me quite a bit. And it's just, making progress, right? Like,
Keeps it centered. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So, Tony, where
So,
can people find you online? I mean, seriously, when you look at I mean, obviously LinkedIn probably.
yeah, LinkedIn, Tony Yang is a pretty common name. Um,
We'll have the
but
link in the show notes so that people can
yeah,
click on that and find you. But yeah.
but I use the, I guess you could say sort of like an online, how do we call it? Tones 810 is the profile name that I use for LinkedIn, for Twitter. I'm more active on LinkedIn these days than on Twitter, but I
Oh,
have a
Twitter's
Twitter
kinda
profile.
scary right now. Twitter's a scary place right now, so yeah.
Yeah, and then certainly if anyone wants to learn more about startup, especially the blog section of my startup's website, which is
Yeah.
revoptica.com. I'm starting to write more about things that I've learned and also have helped other
Mhm.
marketers, revenue operations people, go to market leaders like
Yeah.
CROs who I've worked very closely with in the past, and just to write about things that I've done to address certain things, such as just getting the thoughts out there. It's not pitching product. It's about, what are the problem areas that
Yeah.
all of us in, let's say, B2B go to market type of roles that we struggle with, what are challenges, and how have I addressed those in the
Yeah.
past? So I talk about things like revenue operations, buyer journey frameworks, messaging frameworks.
Ooh, I'll
I
have to go dig in over there. Yeah, that sounds
RevOptica.com. Appreciate anybody who goes there to read it, leave me comments
Ooh.
or let me
Oh,
know how.
you're brave. You have the comments open? Wow.
I haven't turned it on yet, but I will soon. So
Well, you're brave. Okay, now most blogs used to have the comments open. Now they don't. I don't have the blogs open. I figured if they want to talk to me, I'm everywhere. So it's, they can find me.
Yeah, they can reach me. Yeah, exactly.
So Tony, this has been so much fun. I've learned so much. Thank you so much for making the time to be on the show. And we'll see everyone next week. That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business too? Caroline Kay hosts a great podcast called Snippets of Genius. Caroline, tell us what these folks will get out of listening.
Snippets of Genius is a lighthearted business podcast with some brilliant insights into how you can attract and cultivate success. In each episode, I have an inspiring conversation with genius guests from the worlds of business development, marketing, design, and wellness. Each of them share their ballsy, daring moves to burst business opportunities wide open. Every episode is designed to give you as much value as possible so you can decide, define, and develop anything you want in your career or business.
Hard to turn that down. Where can people subscribe?
They can come on over to my website, which is www.carolinekay.co/podcast, or find the show at marketingpodcast.net, or search for Snippets of Genius wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.